saying we're looking for a teacher who's willing to admit he taught evolution and test this new law because we think we can defeat the law. They had to advertise to find a teacher who would do the case for them. A bunch of guys got together in Dayton, Tennessee at a drugstore and said, you know, we need to put Dayton on the map. Our town's a little sleepy town in the mountains of Tennessee and nobody's ever heard of us. Let's see if we can find a teacher who will claim he taught evolution. So they got this teacher named John Scopes, S-C-O-P-E-S. John Scopes substituted teaching biology a couple of days while the regular biology teacher was gone. So they brought John into the drugstore and said, John, would you be willing to claim you taught evolution? He said, well, I don't know if I taught it or not. He said, I just filled in the class for the teacher who was absent for a few days. He said, well, we need you to claim you taught evolution so that we can put you on trial, so that you can be found guilty of teaching evolution, so that we can show how dumb this law is. So the ACLU staged this whole thing. Clarence Darrow, a famous lawyer at the time, atheist lawyer, he came down to defend John Scopes. His real purpose was to try to make the Christians look stupid and to try to get this law overturned. And so William Jennings Bryan came down, who had been four-time vice presidential candidate, a very famous politician, a tremendous speaker, and a great Christian, and a great enemy of the evolutionists. William Jennings Bryan, B-R-Y-A-N. After the trial was over, Bryan died a few days later, and they started a college in his honor in Dayton, Tennessee, Bryan College. A good Christian college up there in Dayton, Tennessee, just north of Chattanooga, about maybe 80 miles or so. Okay? So Bryan College is named after William Jennings Bryan, the famous orator who defended the Christians in this trial. The trial lasted about 10 days in the middle of the heat, extremely hot, no air conditioning in 1925, and everybody, when you read about the trial, it's an amazing book to read. You can get this from Bryan College. Get the book from them. This is listed in my seminar notebook in the yellow page or in the blue pages, references which you have here in front of you. You can find should you decide to get this book. I should find it real quickly. Page 57 or 8, I think. About schools. No. Looks like what page? 57 covers it. Yeah, well, okay. Page 57, first column. The world famous, why don't I see it on there? Okay, right-hand column, 57, the world's most famous court trial. Good reading. What's happened, after this trial was over, the atheists lost. The judge found the teacher guilty. The atheists tried in this trial, and the evolutionists tried to bring in all sorts of testimony about how evolution is true. They were going to bring in the Nebraska man. Later it was proven that all they found was a pig's tooth. They found one tooth and made a whole missing link out of it, the Nebraska man. And that was going to be one of their key bits of evidence, to bring in Nebraska man. Early in the trial, when they had all these witnesses lined up, they were lined up to come in and teach, evolution is a fact and all scientists believe in it. One of I believe it was William Jennings Bryan or his son, who was also there helping William Jennings Bryan, the Christian, said, Your Honor, whether evolution is a fact doesn't matter. That's not what this trial is about. This trial is simply, did he break the law or not? And so they just, with one fell swoop, they undercut all of the work those guys had done to try to bring in evidence for evolution. And the judge said, you're right, it doesn't matter. We're not here to try whether evolution is true or not. We're here to try, did he break the law or not? And turned out he was guilty. He was fined $100, which was the minimum fine under the law at the time. And several people volunteered to pay the fine, but even that fine was overturned on appeal. It went to an appellate court, and there's some little technicality, and they threw the fine out. So nothing happened. It remained illegal to teach evolution in many states up until 1968. In 1968, the last law banning evolution was overturned. At no time ever throughout any of this was there any question about teaching creation. It's always been fine to teach creation in the public school. There has never been a law against that. Finally, even though it was against the law to teach evolution, many states were teaching it anyway. They just stuck it in the books. And the problem really was with the textbook publishers and with the teachers and school boards who are ordering these books that teach evolution. But so it was taught, even though there were laws against it, it was still being taught, regardless of what the law said. Then, in 1981, I believe, or somewhere around there, Arkansas passed a law that said, if you teach evolution, you must teach creation. In the early 80s, I should look up the date, but it doesn't matter. It won't be on the quiz. Arkansas passed a law that says, it was called the balanced treatment. Hey, if you're going to teach our kids evolution, we demand you also teach creation. Which many people thought was very reasonable. Hey, if you're going to teach one, let's teach the other. Let's try to make everybody happy. ACLU came in and challenged that law and said, if you force teachers to teach creation, that's a violation of the First Amendment. And a judge named Overton at the 8th Circuit Court, I believe in Little Rock, Arkansas, it was in Arkansas where it ended up, I believe it's Little Rock. Judge Overton said, you cannot demand the teachers teach creation. Period. Now, they did not say you can't teach creation. What they said is, you cannot demand that they teach creation. Big difference, right? You could still teach creation if you wanted. All they said was, this law, which forces the teachers to teach creation, is unconstitutional. And believe it or not, it probably was a reasonable decision on the part of the judge. So Louisiana wrote a law a few years later and said, same kind of thing, we want equal time. If you're going to teach evolution, you must teach creation. That, of course, was tested by the ACLU, the American Communist Lawyers Union, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, okay, you cannot demand they teach creation. However, Supreme Court said, they can teach creation if they want. We just cannot force them to teach creation. So what's happening is an awful lot of misinformation going around out there. A lot of the evolutionist groups and atheist groups are saying, see, the court said you can't teach creation. Oh, that's not what they said at all. The court said the states cannot force the teachers to teach creation. And you need to understand that difference because that is vital. You've always been allowed to teach creation in public schools. I speak in them all the time. There's never been a law against teaching creation. There's never been a law against teaching the Bible in a public school. There never has been a law. Institute for Creation Research, ICR, in California, publishes this little document every month. One comes out. They call it Impact. Impact articles. They're 10 cents a piece. You can get on their mailing list if you call this phone number and ask, say, put me on your mailing list. I believe it's free of charge. Their phone, pardon? Yeah, it's free. Their phone number is 619-448-0900. And just say, put me on your mailing list, and they'll send you stuff every month. Actually, they've been doing this since 1974, these little articles they put out, at 10 cents a piece, at once a month. You can go back and get all of the back issues for about $35. And it is tremendous reading. If you want to get an awesome resource to keep you busy for months, those are great articles. This one is article number 196. I believe as of today they're up to number 350 or something like that. So I figure $35 should get you all the back issues, clear from 1974. This one talks about how you can teach creation science in the classroom. You may want to get some of these and order 100 copies from them and give them out to all the teachers you know. If you have some influence on teachers in your area, give them one. Most teachers are afraid to teach creation because they think the law says they can't do it. And they're just misinformed. You can teach creation. In 1963, when prayer was taken out of the schools, how many remember that case with Madalyn Murray O'Hair? They took a mandatory prayer out of our schools. That's what happened. It was mandatory prayer that was removed. Prayer wasn't removed. Only mandatory prayer. Big difference. 1963, the Supreme Court said, it certainly may be said that the Bible is worthy of study for its literary and historic qualities. Nothing we have said here indicates that such study of the Bible or of religion, when presented objectively as part of a secular program of education, may be effected consistently with the First Amendment. This is the school district of Abington Township and Schempp versus Schempp, 374 U.S. 203, blah, blah, blah. 1963 Supreme Court case. They said clearly, you can teach the Bible if you want. And there's some ill-informed ignoramuses running around.